Nice to see you all in the call. And as people are still piling in, we're going to slowly start with our content and our introduction. So, looking at what we're going to do today, a little bit of introduction about the user group and why we're here and why all of this is been set up. Then we're going to have Dan from Costa Coffee present how they try to increase usage adoption of Adobe Analytics, which is going to be a very interesting presentation. And after that, we're going to discuss with all of you in some small breakout rooms, if that works, because Teams let us down once already today, so we're going to see how that works. And yeah, then we will have some group discussions, so very nice to have all of you here for that. So, starting with the introduction, I'm Frederick. I'm working at DHL, practice lead for analytics there, and one of the user group leaders. And with me, I have Daniel Tomlinson. I don't know if you want to say a quick few words about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan. I'm based in the UK. I look after digital analytics at Costa Coffee. We are primarily a UK brand. I'll come to the detail later, but you might have heard of our brand in markets all over Europe. We're expanding quite quickly. So
Yes.
please be on board.
Yes, nice to have you here. And what some of you may ask themselves right now is what on earth happened to George? Because yes, in the last user group meeting, we had someone else as my co-host here, which was George Turner. But he literally found better things to do because he then joined Adobe. And since a rule for the user group leads is that they can't work for Adobe, we of course wish him the best. We had a great kickoff last year, but now we need to have a replacement, and that is Daniel. So great to have you on board, and welcome to the user group, and hooray to all the great things that we're going to do in the future. So, a quick reminder on what we want to achieve with the Adobe Analytics user group in EMEA is, of course, bring more value to all of you and also ourselves, because we're all users of Adobe Analytics, and this is not about sales. It's not about buy this cool tool. It's really for those who are already using it. How can you make more of it in terms of strategy, in terms of adoption tips and tricks, or even some tips and tricks around the tool itself. All of that is going to be part of this. Because we really want to connect with the broader community, also make some connections to the Adobe product management, which is also a fun part. So in the last session, for this user group in the kickoff, we had Ben Gaines, Eric Matisoff here talking about the Adobe Analytics product roadmap and cookieless future and all that fun stuff. So all of that is something that we want to do, and I already see some faces from the US today, which is great. But yeah, there's all that fun stuff going on over there, and we also want to have a bit of that cake. So that's also what we want to achieve with this group. So. You already clicked the link on the chapter page or on the event page already, because you wouldn't be here otherwise. Quick reminder, still you can also join the chapter on that page, and that is actually different from joining the event, because that will also notify you of future events. So if you want to come back in the future after you found this event today, as great as it's going to be, then please also join the chapter on that page. Also, one great thing to join is our YouTube channel, because we are going to upload all our user group meetings to that channel. So there's quite a bunch of videos already. I think that subscriber count is quite outdated, because since the last kickoff, subscribers have exploded. So I think you have the chance to become our 79th subscriber today, which is still quite cool. So we would appreciate if you do that. And yeah, I can just vouch for the great content on that channel, because as I mentioned, if you want to hear Eric Matisoff talk about cookieless futures, if you want to see what the US folk are doing over there, that's all on that channel. Last week I was with the new what was it, the user group from Spain, talking about customer journey analytics and all that, trying to follow conversations in Spanish about Spider-Man, I think. That was interesting. And yeah, all of that is on that YouTube channel, and you can and should join it too. So before we get started, Dan is going to present how Costa Coffee is trying to increase user adoption for Adobe Analytics. If you want to see how DHL does that, I can also recommend you to sign up for this year's Adobe Summit, because just today we finished our recording for that, which has exactly the same topic. So make sure to sign up for session. I think it's S106. from Till Bittner and myself. And if you also want to hear me talk more about Adobe Analytics at Summit, you can also sign up for the Rockstar session, which is S103 with Eric Matisoff. Because, yeah, I will be doing the only thing that I can, which is talk about Adobe Analytics, and then there's this workspace in there. So that's all from me. Dan, I don't know if you want to take over screen sharing or if I should click for you.
If you don't mind clicking on to the next screen,
Yes.
let's get started. So I'm not going to go into any kind of major technical detail over the next few minutes, but I wanted to kind of share some of the, I guess, frustrations and strategies that we're kind of facing into within our business, and hopefully it resonates with some of you guys, and we can have a discussion afterwards and share some ideas. So for those that don't know the brand Costa Coffee, I work for them. We were kind of founded in 1971 by the Sergio and Bruno Costa brothers. And since then, we've kind of gone through lots of different stages of growth. So we started out in London. We had a single store. Over the years, we've kind of grown and grown. And then 2017 came and we opened up a state-of-the-art roastery, which is now kind of one of the biggest in all of Europe. We've consistently voted the nation's favourite coffee shop in the UK. I think we've now been voted about 12 years in a row, and we're the second largest coffee shop chain in the world after Starbucks. In 2019, we were purchased by Coca-Cola, and that's kind of like over the last few years with COVID as well. It's kind of really accelerated our digital agenda. So we're now kind of in locations all over the world, more than 40. We have a website or an app presence in lots of countries. We have a loyalty scheme, which about 10% of the UK population are signed up to. So there's 6.8 million active members on that scheme. It's quite big. And we get kind of 4 million visits to our app and about 200,000 to our web. So we're using Adobe Analytics and a suite of other tools to drive improved consumer experiences across our digital channels. We've also got Costa Express machines. So for those of you that don't know what they are, they're kind of they're self-serving machines that you find often in kind of petrol station forecourts or supermarkets. They're quite a big part of our business, and like I just said, we're growing all the time. So expect to see us in your market soon if we're not there already. Next slide, please, Frederick. So yeah, just to set the scene, I've been at Costa for just over 3 years now, and when I first joined, we had kind of very basic analytics capability. So we had kind of a free version of Firebase and a free version of GA, which gave us very limited kind of out-the-box basic tracking. As the 3 years have gone by, we've kind of really rapidly expanded out our digital analytics capability. So we've now got Adobe Analytics in place across our apps and web sites, and we've got Adobe Target as well to kind of start testing and learning and learning from some experiences. We've also got a whole load of qualitative insights now that supplement what we see in Adobe. So we use a tool called UXCam, quite a small company based in Berlin, I believe, to give us qualitative insights into our app, and then Hotjar on our website. And then we've also got kind of our App Store data to give us a full view of acquisition. So as you can probably see there's some quite big tools, but as I'll say in a moment, we've got a very small team. So to get full value out of these tools and kind of sell the benefits across the business is a day in, day out challenge. So Frederick, next slide, please. So I guess just to bring to life digital analytics at Costa, I just thought I'd kind of share a very real example of something that we're trying to use our data to make a difference with. I mentioned our kind of Costa Club loyalty scheme with a lot of members on it. We know that those users that are part of our Costa scheme are worth about 2.5 times more annually than people that aren't registered onto a scheme. So there's a lot of benefit of getting people registered onto our loyalty platform. We have a 3-step journey to get on to complete that registration journey on the app. So users have to enter a number if they've got one for their accounts, maybe on a plastic card, put some detail in if they have been referred by a friend, and then add all their personal information, things like their name, their address, choose a password, etc., etc., we see roughly about a 70% conversion rate there. So there's a 30% opportunity of people that are obviously interested in our scheme but aren't finishing the journey for whatever reason. Adobe Analytics and other tools give us some really granular insights into exactly why. Spoiler alert, it's the password entry field. In our example, we believe that we've got far too strict rules in place that we're looking into kind of doing some testing around to try and make a difference. But just to bring digital analytics to life, that's the kind of thing that I do in my role and try to kind of share and socialise across the business. So next slide, please, Frederick. So there's quite a lot of words on this slide, but I just wanted to share some of the challenges that we face, and then some of the strategies that we're starting to look into at Costa. So hopefully some of these resonate with you guys, and feel free to jump in with questions or comments as I go through. But COVID-19 has obviously come with a whole load of positives, but also negatives. One of the negatives that I found is kind of getting people bought into the benefits of Adobe Analytics is really hard working from home. You can't just walk over to someone's desk and hold their hand and help them with something. It's really challenging to do it remotely over a screen. We also have a whole host of kind of technical challenges in terms of working at pace and using our digital analytics tools to their full potential. So the majority of our traffic goes to our app rather than our website. So to get anything new rolled out in terms of new events or new tests, we're kind of at the mercy of the app release cycle, which is very kind of structured and set in stone, and we have to wait a few months of times to get anything new live. Culture as well is kind of a very big topic and something that's changing for the better right now, but typically we've really focused on getting new shiny stuff live and out the door rather than looking at optimizing it. So we've kind of gone from thing to thing to thing, and we haven't necessarily taken a step back and really reviewed what's working and what isn't. Resource as well. I'm a one-man band, so I look after analytics for the whole of the world, basically, digital analytics. So it's very difficult to get full value from tools when it's just one person trying to kind of sing the praises of it across the business. And then kind of the global remit that we now kind of hold within my team is a challenge, because different websites and apps have owners in the markets around the world. So it's obviously difficult to firstly understand those markets when you're not geographically located there, and also kind of managing those teams that you can't meet in person is difficult. So you probably that's kind of my vent over. That's a whole load of frustrations that I kind of face into on a day in day out basis. We're following a whole load of strategies to hopefully make a difference. So one kind of really positive thing just this week actually that we did was host an Adobe Day. So we kind of worked with our Adobe Analytics account manager to get a hopefully engaging set of agenda items that we kind of got everyone across the business to come along to. So we had a session on analytics, a session on kind of trends, what's going on in the market in kind of our restaurant sector, and a session on target. We had about 60 people join for the duration of the day, which was really quite positive, and that's driven a whole load of follow-up conversations of people realizing the full potential of the tool and how it might help them in their roles. So if you haven't already, I'd thoroughly recommend that if your customer success manager is able to facilitate. I'm also kind of putting in everyone's diaries a series of kind of drop-in digital analytics surgery sessions. So the idea is people put in half an hour with me and bring along their specific questions, and I kind of help them where I can and show them the right areas of the tool to look into. Dashboards and kind of linking our data into Power BI is another big area. So I don't know if you guys are the same as us, but we have lots of different logins and different tools to get slightly different bits of information. So we've kind of got a strategic purpose, I guess, to try and use Power BI as much as possible. So getting Adobe data, or the key Adobe data, into a central place along with all of our consumer data is hopefully going to be a great way to get people using it and learning from it a lot more. We also use the app, so the Adobe Analytics app. That's kind of particularly useful for our more senior members of the team. They're starting to use that and kind of check in on KPIs kind of before going into key meetings more and more, which is great. And then I guess just more broadly, socializing and sharing nuggets of data to relevant audiences at team meetings is something we're doing more and more. So we're currently in the middle of a big project called the Single Connected View, where we're trying to kind of link all of our digital data to our consumer data. That's a great way to sell the benefits across teams in terms of like understanding cross-platform behaviors and how we can start doing cool stuff through CRM. It's a good way in to people's hearts, I guess. And one other thing that's kind of not in that list is kind of introducing a culture around OKRs, objectives and key results. So we're starting to kind of map those out right now, and the idea is that we'll have some kind of core metrics behind each of them that will give the teams more accountability behind working towards improving them. At the moment, analytics is kind of seen, if I'm honest, kind of on the side. It's going to hopefully change to be more incorporated into people's roles and objectives moving forwards. So that's just a very honest view of kind of where we are at Costa. Hopefully some of those things, I rattle through them, but they hopefully resonate with you guys. So unless anyone's got any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. We might want to move on to the next slide, Frederick, conscious of time. So no questions, I'm assuming. So what we wanted to do was kind of break out into a series of groups and kind of get you guys talking around your businesses, if you're happy to, and sharing some of the frustrations you might be facing into, what the challenges are, and what some of the strategies are you're following to try and improve them. Be as open and honest as you want to, but the idea is it's just an open forum. We just wanted to share ideas, get a conversation going, and then in, should we say half an hour or should we say 20 minutes, Frederick? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good if we meet again in 20 minutes and then have the kind of group discussion then in this group also, if there's any aha moments, any insights worth sharing.
So let's do that. Let's break out in a moment for 20 minutes and kind of just get talking, and then we'll regroup. And if everyone's happy, we'll maybe present back a few of the best ideas so that we can all learn something. Does that sound good?
So, any nuggets you guys want to share? Like in our group, we had a really good discussion on especially how to get Google Analytics users in companies where that big migration is happening from Google Analytics to Adobe Analytics. I can see in some phases that might be more widespread than like individual things. So that was really interesting. Like one insight we shared there was, of course, if people are trying to find something comparable to what they have in Google Analytics, especially like that experience of going in the tool and seeing something instead of just an empty workspace, to use curation and templates in an as workspace for that, to say, well, if you want to look at marketing campaigns, this is your template for that, and then trying to iterate with teams on that practice and trying to improve those templates, trying to improve curation over time and all that. So also from the people now nodding along, I would be very curious to hear what your experiences are.
Frederick, I'm gonna tell on John Markey. He was in my group, and he had the best phrase. He said, when you show that white workspace, when you open up workspace, I'm going to read it because I wrote it down. The marketer's face goes as white as the workspace. So, because he was saying the same thing, like have templates there, for people to use. And so I thought that was a funny way to liken the white workspace to the marketer's face going white. So shout out to John.
Thank you, Sarah.
We had a discussion in our group around, or part of the discussion around how certain teams are quite guarded around their data. So when you're trying to get teams outside of yours to self-serve, it's a challenge. So I don't think we necessarily had a solution to it, but it was definitely a common theme across our group.
Very cool. Anyone wants to share something? Like I see some interesting companies in this room, so I would be very curious to hear what companies like Vodafone have to say to this. But Lucas?
If nobody wants to say something, I can also say something. So I think what is important is that you also measure the user adoption, because if you want to drive user adoption, you have to define what that is. So could it be like logins to Adobe Analytics or workspace views or things like that. And so you should definitely take a look at the usage logs of Adobe Analytics to regularly run reports, see how that develops, etc. You can also use a tool. That's a little bit of a promotion for myself. My tool, I see there's some clients of this tool in the call as well. The component manager for Google Sheets. There you can get all the stats on your component usage and on your usage stats with a couple of clicks. So if you're interested in that, that makes it a little easier. But you can, of course, also go through the account usage logs. Frederick Werner has a nice article on how to get started and aggregate those stats yourself if you have a little bit more time. So I think adoption always, as with anything, you have to go define what is adoption first and then measure it and then look how stuff develops depending on what you're doing.
So that's a very great point. And like one thing also to raise it in this group, because like maybe we can later on point some Adobe product managers to this recording and say, well, your companies actually want this. Like one thing I always wanted to have is in Adobe Analytics, if you're using Workspace and you look in the network tab of your browser, you can actually see that there's quite a lot of measurement going on within Workspace. So Adobe is actually looking at all the different clicks we are doing. And I always like very envious to say, well, I want to have access to that data. I want to know who of my users use breakdowns. Like who of my users do this in Workspace and do that in Workspace. Like if you also would like to know that kind of stuff, then maybe just not along right now, because I think Adobe should listen to us if we want to have that as well.
Yeah, so, reports on reports.
Yes.
So I wanted to call out, so Mark, in our breakout, he was talking about a little bit of gamification of, kind of pitting other people within your own company, on what you're doing, what one person is doing against kind of a little bit of competition, what other people are doing, saying, these people are doing this, these people are doing that. And I really liked that, kind of getting kind of a inter-company competition. And I thought it was kind of interesting to almost get that, I guess, a little bit of a rivalry, saying, hey, this person is doing this. And so maybe getting people to start accomplishing just little bits and pieces of, doing more within Adobe Analytics. I think it's kind of a way to get people to start doing things for themselves. So I think that was kind of a nice idea. So it's just getting that little extra thing, because I did a while back, I did a survey, and I was explaining this to the group, asking people what they were doing. And the one thing that they brought up was, well, maybe when I get a little bit more training and understanding. And the thing is, when you put out the idea of doing training, and then you get, crickets when you offer it, it's like, well, you said you wanted training, and then, they don't, come back and say that they actually want it. It's trying to get that actual, desire for them to come and do it. So turning around and doing that gamification, I really liked that, that it's that carrot, that proverbial carrot to get them to actually do it. I liked that idea.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Just to build on that, Jeff, I mentioned earlier we had our Adobe Day earlier this week, and we were able to get hold of some Adobe swag. So we had 60 people across the business as part of it, and we have some competitions throughout the day, and it's unbelievable to see how engaged people were, knowing that there was swag up for grabs. So
yeah, incentives. I like that. Yes, actual incentives. That really worked.
Awesome. Anyone else who wants to share some valuable discussion? Don't be shy. I can call people out. I know people. So
the guy who raised his hand.
Who did?
Uwe?
Ah.
Uwe Möller?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
So now my audio is working. Great. Yeah, I found it quite helpful I think Daniel said this initially, making yourself available to your colleagues. So if they have question, they just can write you an email, chat with you, whatever. If they have the feeling of having someone who they can ask to and getting in conversation with them. I experienced that the questions over time heavily developed. So you start with how do I even get something out of Adobe to I built this funnel, and at this point I want to switch from this dimension into that, and I want to understand on which daytime this happens, which segment and stuff like this, and having some kind of, so I personally go heavy into enablement and communication, and from my experience, this really works fine. So sure, you always have people who, basically they just work sometimes with Adobe, and maybe they take one training or so and didn't really go into it, but overall, I think this is a quite good way to approach or to get more enablement. So if they understand the tool, and at some point they will see the benefit of the tool in comparison, for example, with Google Analytics, which is the most prominent other tool there out there. Often they then are really enabled, and then the questions will get really so they will go really deep into the stuff.
Great point. Thanks for sharing. One thing that I can also add to that, what we're trying to do at DHL, is to also utilize open Teams channels where people can just go in there, ask some question, and then someone from the analytics team, doesn't need to be a junior or senior team member, like somebody who knows the answer, or also other people from the broader community, so also other product managers, can go in there and say, well, I know the answer, I know who to ask, I've done this way last time. Like, that's also tremendously helpful to also get the conversation starting, because we're also trying to like promote that mindset of like analytics conversations don't just need to happen with the analytics team. Like, you should be talking amongst yourselves about numbers and user behavior and success. So that's some way we try to also leverage that to just say, all right, we have this project, we have a team for that project, and there should be an analytics channel where that kind of questions are discussed openly, so people also don't feel intimidated to ask simple questions, because others are doing that too. Like, there's no shame to that.
Just to build on your point, Frederick, we at Costa, we've got a similar setup, but we've also started to save down big pieces of work in a central location. So often there are the same questions that come up every week, and usually the work's already been done, and it's just a case of re-updating the numbers. So all those previous pieces of work are saved in the central location, and it saves a lot of my time, because I just point them to those previously produced decks, and they can get the answer they need from there. So you might want to consider that.
Great point. Cool. So we have 2 minutes left in this meeting. So I'm going to, for that time, again, share my screen with the presentation. There's not a lot left in terms of actual slides, only this one. So again, if you want to stay connected with the user group, feel free to join the chapter. Like, you've already found the link to join this meeting. On that same page, you also have the option to join the chapter to be notified of future events. You can also join other user groups, like the US user group, some very cool people in there. I know that. So feel free to join those as well, if times are working out for you. And yeah, we would like to thank you for joining today. We had some really great discussions. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you all at Summit, presumably. And look forward to finding yourselves on YouTube also, because you now are, together with us, some very big YouTubers on that channel. So look forward to that.
Thanks, Frederick.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.